Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So yesterday we were learning Microsoft Fabric from the Learn Microsoft, the documentation developed by the Microsoft itself. And there we were going through this unit, Explore End-to-End Analytics with Microsoft Fabric. So let's move ahead now. The next section is Data Teams and Microsoft Fabric, right? So here, what it is trying to say is the Microsoft Fabric is removing the data silos which was traditionally there in the organizations, right? So what does it mean by that? So with one lake architecture, what Microsoft Fabric is now offering to the users, uh, the entire organization, the one lake fabric, the one lake architecture, it will have uh, the entire organization's data in one single place, and then that data will be accessible by different functions in the organization, right? So in a way it is a single source of truth which is kept in the one lake, and then it is used by different functions, right? So thereby they are eradicating this data duplication for different functions, and then different functions are going to access the latest data which is available in one lake, and then they can build their own meaningful data out of it, right? So traditionally the data engineers and data analyst role separation meant that there was an extra conversation that needed to happen, right? Because there were two teams earlier. So data engineers were building the data, they were bringing the data from the source and then creating the semantic model. And then the data analyst was using that semantic model. On top of it, they were building their reports and dashboards to display the data, right? But with Fabric, now that gap is actually filled, and then uh, both, I mean, the analytics engineer can do both the work of data engineering as well as of data analyst, right? And so in that way we can say that the data analyst has that visibility that what kind of data needs to be brought in into the tables from the upstream data, right? And then what transformation that the data analyst has to do so that it can fulfill the demand of the business user, right? So the with Fabric, that visibility will be there for the data analyst both at the upstream as well as in the downstream applications, right? So whether you are a data engineer looking for to simplify your semantic model curation or expanding your knowledge with data science technique, Fabric provides a complete experience to serve your organization, right? For data analysts who may have had to perform extensive downstream data transformation before creating Power BI reports, you can now see the lineage and connect with the data more directly with the data direct lake mode. So what it is trying to say with the direct lake mode? So if you have worked with Power BI, right? So you might be aware that there are different modes of connectivity. So one is import mode where you are importing the entire data into Power BI and then developing the reports. The second is direct query mode where you are connecting to the source and then building your visuals on top of it, right? So this generally happens when we usually adopt that when we have huge amount of data and we cannot import entire data, right? So in that case we have to go in we have to use direct query mode. But direct query mode also has its challenges because it affects the performance of the reports, right? It takes time to for the visuals to render the data in direct query mode. But with direct lake mode, what we are doing is we have entire data in one lake. So here we can connect to this one lake data directly, and then it will give the same performance that we have in import mode. So this is what it is trying to tell. So don't worry, I can cover this topic maybe in more detail in the later part of the um, videos, right? So let's go to the next part. So Okay, so because Fabric is a SaaS, software as a service platform, it allows you quickly and easily provision and run any type of workload or job without needing any pre-approval or planning. So earlier, uh, when we suppose in Azure itself, suppose we have to use data engineering workload or data or business intelligence workloads, right, or data analyst workloads. So we have to get the tools from the Azure, and then we need to have different we need to plan it, or we need to provision different accesses for different tools. But with this software service solution coming with Microsoft Fabric, there is no requirement of getting any extra access or service extra access basically, right? Earlier we in if we would have taken all these tools separately, then we would have to get all the secret keys and all those things. But with Microsoft Fabric, all all this access part has been taken care within Microsoft Fabric itself. And the if anyone is going with this Fabric solution, all these will be taken care of, and the user is not concerned about that. It does not He does not have to concerned about all those things, right? It will all be taken care at the background, and the user is simply can use all these different workloads whatever Microsoft Fabric is providing, right? Even the scalability part also it will take care. Suppose after building all the entire reports and dashboards, the user base has increased suddenly, suppose. So that scalability will also be taken care by this platform, right? So this is what it is telling. So Fabric is bringing the low code no code concept, okay, and meaning that s- whenever you have to build your data as a data engineer, or you have to build a report as a as a data analyst, or you have to, as a business intelligence developer, I would say, or you have to do some analysis using as a data analyst. So there are different options. I mean, you if you know the coding, you can do the coding as well. And if you don't, if you're not very pro in coding part, then Microsoft is also giving some uh, visual uh, level of low code and no code capability. Maybe in the next section, when we will be covering that lab part, right? There it will be more clear to you that what it is. So let's go to the next unit, which says enable and use Microsoft Fabric, right? So here, in order to enable the capabilities of Microsoft Fabric, it can be enabled for the organization, and for that, uh, the permission for it can be given by or enabled by these three people. Either a person can be a Fabric admin who can give the access to all the Fabric workloads, or he or she can be a Power Platform admin, or he or she can be a Microsoft 365 admin. So all these three admins, any of these three admins can enable the Microsoft Fabric um, workloads, right? So Fabric can be enabled at the tenant level or capacity level, meaning that it can be enabled for the entire organization or for specific group of users. If you don't have access to Fabric, contact your Fabric administrator, find out if it's available for you or not. The Fabric admin was formally, or earlier it was Power BI administrator, but now since we have Microsoft Fabric, we have these Fabric administrator basically, or it can be a Power Platform admin, or it can be a he can be a Microsoft 365 admin, right? And then if one goes to the admin portal, there we can see the tenant setting. So in tenant setting, as you can see that we have Microsoft Fabric, where we have where it can be enabled, right? So yeah, as of now, what we can do is we can go and enable the free fabric trial, and it will be enabled for 60 days for the user, and they can try different functionality and different workloads, right? So they can do all those things. So in the upcoming section also, we will be having the labs where I will be showing you all these things, right? So we can create the fabric enabled workspaces there, right? So we can there are different licensing modes, right, in Power BI. So we have for the workspaces basically, so we have pro workspace, premium per user, premium capacity and all. But for fabric we are going to use this trial version. So as of now it is free. This trial version is available for the users. Okay, so yeah, so we can once that trial version is enabled, then we can create different workloads in the fabric, right? Yeah. So yeah, so we have all these workloads available in Microsoft Fabric, which are Power BI, Data Factory, Data Activator, Industry Solutions, Real Time Analytics. So these are the new ones, and then Data Engineering, Data Science, and Data Warehouse, which is part of Synapse. Yeah, but all these workloads are part of Fabric now, and they are giving this combined as a software as a solution, Microsoft Fabric uh, under Microsoft Fabric. Yeah. So let's go to the next module. But before that, let's go to this unit. Okay, we will do the knowledge check. Fine. So, which of the following is the key benefit of using Microsoft Fabric in data projects? It allows data professionals to work on data projects independently without the need for collaboration. No, this cannot be correct. It requires duplication of data across different systems and team. No, so I have already said that. Okay, it removes data duplication and the silos. So yeah, it cannot also be it cannot be. So it provides a single integrated environment for data professionals and the business to collaborate on data projects. Yes, this is the one that we can go for. So what is the default storage format for Fabric's OneLake? So in my previous video, I think I have already covered this. So the storage format is Delta format, right? Which of the following Fabric workloads is used to move and transfer data? So data science is for building models for data science, right? Data warehousing is for keeping the historical data, right, in data warehousing. And then data factory is actually used to move the data or ingest the data from the source, and then also for the transformation. Yeah, so data factory is the one. So let's check the answer. Awesome. So all these questions are correct. So yeah, let's move on to the next part. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so we have covered this introduction to end-to-end analytics using Microsoft Fabric, right? So we have covered all these parts. So let's go to the next part. Get started with lake houses in Microsoft Fabric. So it would be an interesting one. Yeah. So I have opened it here. So yeah, the foundation of Microsoft Fabric is Lakehouse, which is built on top of OneLake scalable storage layer and uses Apache Spark and SQL compute engines for big data processing, right? So what is Lakehouse? So Lakehouse is nothing but it is a combination of a data lake and the data warehouse. So what is a data lake? So basically data lake, it is again it is we can say it's a database which contains all types of data. It can contain structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. So all kind of data can be kept in data lake. Okay, but the problem with data lake is there is no proper schema, and then it is just kept there, and sometimes it is unusable. We cannot use it directly, right? And then data warehouse is a again a database where we can keep the structured data, right? So there is a proper schema defined for the tables or whatever data that we are keeping in data warehouse. And um, yeah, and then it has the proper, all the properties of ACID transactions and all, right? Which was not there in data lake. So what is lake house? So it has the capability of both the data lake. It can keep all the structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data, and also it has that ACID properties, right? And then the lake house is used for, fine, it is used for, it is a storage layer, right? And then it uses Apache Spark. So it is an engine, which helps in processing the huge amount of data that we keep in the lake house, right? Yeah. So imagine your company has been using a data warehouse to store structured data from its transactional system, such as order history, inventory level, customer information. So all this data is the structured data, and it is coming from the transactional database systems, right? So structured meaning all this data is in a proper tabular format, right? And then a proper schema is also defined there, right? So in order history, we can have order ID, order number, and amount. So such kind of data will be there. So this will be the structured data, right? And it is using data warehouse. Now, the organization is also collecting unstructured data from social media, website logs, third party sources. Okay, so these all are the unstructured data. There is no proper schema defined to it. Yeah. So yeah, you have also collected unstructured data from social media, website logs, and third party sources that are difficult to manage and analyze using the existing data warehouse infrastructure. Now your company's new directive is to improve its decision making capabilities by analyzing data in various formats across multiple sources, so the company chooses Microsoft Fabric. So yes, we have Microsoft Fabric, and with Microsoft Fabric we can take the structured, unstructured data, semi structured data, and we are going to analyze the data. Okay, and then we can improve the decision making capabilities of for the organization, and we have chosen Microsoft Fabric. So let's move to the next part. So explore Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. So see, a lakehouse presents as a database and is built on top of data lake using delta format tables, right? So lakehouses combine the SQL-based analytical capabilities of a relational data warehouse and the flexibility and scalability of a data lake. So what are the properties of data lake? So it is scalable and distributed file storage, right? So scalable means, suppose the data size is increasing, so it can scale itself, right? It can scale itself to any number of nodes. And then the distributed file storage, so whatever data that we are going to store, so it is we have distributed systems, right? We have multiple uh, nodes where we are breaking down the file, we are breaking down the data, and then we are storing that data in different files. So it is a distributed file storage. So this is the feature of data lake. And then we have flexible schema on read semantics, meaning, so whenever we are writing the data into the data lake, we can define the schema while writing the data. So we can give the data type to the columns whatever we are writing while reading that data from the source. So that capability is there, right? And then it is big data technology compatible, right? So data lake is big data technology compatible because it is a distributed file storage system, right? And then data warehouse is a relational schema modeling. So we have, as I told, right? So this is a relational schema modeling where we have facts and dimensions connected to each other, right? So it is like that. And then we have SQL based querying here in data warehouse. In data lake we cannot do that, right? but in data warehouse we can do that. Okay, and then we use it for reporting and analytics, right? So this is data warehouse is generally used for reporting and analytics purpose. Now what is lake house? It is combining the features of both data lake and data warehouse together, right? And then whatever data that we are going to store in lake house, that can be directly accessible, right? And then we can use it for reporting and analytics purpose, right? So see, here are some of the benefits given for the lake house. So lake house use Spark and SQL engines to process large scale data and support machine learning or predictive modeling analytics as well. Lakehouse data is organized in a schema on read format, which means you define the schema as needed rather than having a predefined schema. Lakehouses support ACID transactions, so atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability transactions through Delta Lake formatted tables that we are keep storing in Lakehouse, right? And Lakehouse are a single location for data engineers, data scientists, data analytics to access and use the data, right? So Lakehouse is a great option if you want a scalable analytics solution that maintains data consistency. It's important to evaluate your specific requirements to determine which solution is best fit for you. So Microsoft Fabric lake houses. So in Microsoft Fabric, you can create a lake house in any premium tier workspace. After creating a lake house, you can load the data in any common format from various sources. It includes local files. Suppose you have Excel files or CSV files in your local system, you can uh, upload the data from there, and then you can put it in the lake house, and it will be stored there as a delta format, right? And then you can also connect it to various databases, or you can use different APIs to collect the data and then ingest the data into the lake house. Yeah, and then it can also be automated using data factory pipelines or data flow gen 2 in Microsoft Fabric, right? Additionally, you can create Fabric shortcuts to data which is external to the system. So suppose the data is somewhere in AWS system or in GCP, right? So if the data is somewhere there, or even if you have your data in Azure ADLS, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 outside, outside your Fabric, so all these data sources which are external can be connected using shortcuts, right? Yeah. So Lakehouse Explorer enables you to browse files, folders, shortcuts, and tables and view their content within the Fabric platform. So we use Lakehouse Explorer for that, right? So after you have ingested the data into the Lakehouse from various different sources, you can use notebooks or data flows to explore and transform the data as well. Data flows, you know that okay, it is a part of it is nothing but the online Power Query tool. So just like we have this Power Query in Power BI desktop, right? So this is the Power BI service version of Power Query, and we call it as a data flow. So whatever transformation that used to do earlier in Power BI desktop, right? So all those steps used to automatically is created. So data flow is nothing but the same thing, but in Power BI service, right? So then data factory pipeline can be used to orchestrate Spark data flows and other activities, enabling you to implement complex data transformation processes. So data factory pipelines were actually used by data engineers, right? um, Data engineers used to ingest the data using data factory pipelines. They were automating this pipeline, right, using data factories. And then there were different activities that they used to create there. So we have two options to ingest the data. I think if anyone who is familiar with with Power BI, they might be it might be easier for them to work with data flows. And then people who have worked with it, worked as a data engineer, maybe data factory would be familiar for them. But yes, as a analytics engineer who is learning Microsoft Fabric, I think They can explore both data flows as well as data factory, because ultimately they are going to use both of these tools, right? So after transforming your data, you can query it using SQL. Use it to train machine learning models, perform real-time intelligence, or develop reports in Power BI. So you can do anything. Okay. So let's go to another module. Another unit of this module. Yeah. So work with Microsoft Fabric lake houses, right? Okay. So you work with Microsoft Fabric Lakehouses. Now that you understand the core capabilities of a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse, let's explore how to work with one. So, okay, so create and explore a lakehouse. So you create and configure a new lakehouse. So don't worry, guys, we are going to do that practical lab as well. But I think that is in the next unit. Yeah, or in this exercise it will be. So let's quickly see this theory and then we will go there, right? So you can create and explore a new lakehouse in data engineering workload, right? So in data engineering workload only, you can create a new lakehouse. So each lakehouse produces three named items in the Fabric enabled workspaces, right? So yeah, so before lakehouse, what you are going to do is you have to create a workspace first, and under that workspace you are going to create a lakehouse. Okay, so that means data engineering, under data engineering workload only, you have to create a workspace as well. So under that, you are going to create a lakehouse. So lakehouse is the lakehouse storage and metadata where you interact with files, folders, and table data. See, so we have this is nothing but the lakehouse, right? So under a specific workspace, you are going to see this lakehouse that you have created, and then you can also see the type is lakehouse. And as soon as we create the lakehouse, a semantic model is automatically created here. Okay, and it is based on the tables in the lakehouse. Okay, and then Power BI reports can be built from the semantic model. Okay, got it. So whenever we are creating a lake house, um, okay, this semantic model will be automatically created, wherein in this we also have this SQL endpoints also. So SQL analytics endpoint, it is a read-only SQL analytics endpoint through which you can connect and query data with transact SQL, right? So whenever so in this lake house, what are tables that we are putting, right? So this semantic model is anyways is by default there, but then we can connect to this semantic model through SQL endpoints, whatever is given to us. And then whatever tables that we are going to keep in this lake house, right? So we can so this is the default semantic model. We can modify this semantic model as per our need. So we can use our fact tables and the dimension table, create a well structured star schema semantic model, and then in order to you develop our reports and we want to connect from our Power BI desktop to this model, we can use SQL endpoints and then connect to this model and then create our reports, right? So yeah, you can work with the data in the lakehouse in two modes. Lakehouse okay, two modes. So lakehouse mode and SQL endpoint mode. So lakehouse enables you to add and interact with the tables, files, and folders in lakehouse, and SQL endpoint enables you to use SQL to query the tables in the lakehouse and manage its relational schema model. Okay, so you can do both the things. You can connect to that semantic model using SQL endpoints, as well as you can also connect to it and then query. You can write a query. You can fire a SQL query, and then as a data analyst, you can see the data or you can query the data basically, right? So this is what it is. Now ingest the data into the lakehouse. So there are different ways to load data into Fabric Lakehouse. So one is upload, wherein suppose you have the local file uh, uh, placed in your laptop or in your system, so you can just simply upload it and then get the data from there. Then we have data flows. So you can import and transform the data from the range of sources using Power Query Online and load it directly into the table in the lakehouse. And then we have notebooks. We can use notebooks in Fabric to ingest and transform data and load it into the tables or the files in the lakehouse. And then we have data factory pipelines, where we can copy the data from the source and then orchestrate data processing activities, you know, and then loading the result into the table or the files in the lakehouse. So these four options are there to ingest the data. One is upload, second is data flows, gen 2, notebooks, and then fourth one is data factory pipelines, right? We can also access the data using shortcuts if the data is external and is not in Microsoft Fabric, right? So we can do all these things. So let's move on to the next unit. We already have you I mean half an hour is already over. So no problem. Maybe we can do the access. Okay, this was work with Microsoft Fabric, and then we have to go to the fourth unit. So let's do one thing. We can cover this fourth unit in our next video. So thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. I hope this video is useful for you. You might have understood something or most of the things. If you have any questions, please post your questions in the comment box, and then definitely I will come back to you. Thank you all.